Hello, everyone, and welcome to my new series of Will's Weekly Wonders, where I'm going to be discussing all things analytics. Now, for those of you that don't know me, I'm a big Reading fan, and so I'm taking the opportunity this week to try and predict how the championship table will finish up. For those of you that aren't aware, the teams finishing between third and sixth go into a playoffs and compete in the richest game in football. So there's 6 games left in the season for Reading. I didn't want to wait till the end of May to find out how they would finish up. So I decided I was going to use Alteryx to help me find that answer out and whether they would make it into it. A shout out to my colleagues James and Luke as well. Book recommended to me on Football Hackers, which is all around football, data science and analytics, which was a great segue into this. So what I'm going to do is jump into Alteryx and show you how we started to do this. Now it's a combination of being able to pull some of the original data. So here I've got all of the fixtures and results so far this season. And what I've then been able to do is convert different parts of the workflow into what are known as macros. And as you can see here, the different icons representing each of the teams in with a shout of making the playoffs. So starting with Bournemouth in 7th, it was all around the data prep and the cleansing. Moving on to the Reading macro, and it was all around some feature engineering. As we then move into Barnsley, it was all around combining our XG data sources and splitting the data ready for our model. The output of Swansea was the actual building of the model using assisted modeling within Alteryx. And as we go on to Brentford, the output of this were those predictions for each of the games. Now, what this ended up with, as we can see here as the playoff winners, we were provided some information, but we've actually built a PDF to go alongside this to present the information in a nicer format. So, starting at the top, we can get some information on each of the individual fixtures happening in the next week. Starting tonight, Friday evening, with Watford versus Reading, where the model, this is the first instance that it gets it wrong. A 52% chance that Watford are going to take home the 3 points tonight. Some other standout results from this week's fixtures, so Bournemouth and QPR both with around 62-63% chance of winning. In terms of that final table though, Norwich unsurprisingly coming out as champions, Watford also going up automatically in the top 2 positions. Then the playoff spots made up by Brentford, Barnsley, Bournemouth and Swansea, with Reading just missing out. So not really the answer I was looking for, but we can take a look into some of the historic analysis as well to make me feel better potentially. So Reading predicted to take home 75 points this season. How would that have stood them up in the previous 16 years? As we can see here, presented by the green line, we've got all of the points tallies for the teams that finished 6th in previous years, and Reading presented by the blue dot. So in 14 of the last 16 seasons, Reading's 75 points would have been enough to get them into the playoffs. But as you can see on the table on the left-hand side, just finishing 6th doesn't guarantee you going up. You've actually got the lowest possibility at just 12.5%. And those coming third with a 37.5% chance of winning that biggest game in football. So good news for the Brentford fans. However, I've sat through Reading losing playoff semi-finals and finals when they finished 3rd, 4th and 5th. So there's no guarantee at any spot. Now, that was a very brief introduction to Alteryx, to some data analytics, and perhaps for some of you to football and Reading. If you'd like to know more about any of the parts that I've talked through today, please feel free to add a comment beneath, to message me, and I'd be more than happy to go into detail. As I said, this is a new weekly investigation, so if you've got any ideas, things you'd like me to investigate, then also please feel free to add a comment and to pass this around. Thanks, and have a nice weekend, everybody. Tune into Sky Sports at 7:45 this evening.